friends, it's Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and today I'm bringing some sweet holiday fun. I'm Team Gingerbread in the Ultimate Gingerbread vs. Snowman Challenge. Will the cozy charm of gingerbread win your heart, or will the frosty fun of Team Snowman take the crown? Grab your cocoa, settle in, and let's get crafting. Team Gingerbread style. Browsing through the Dollar Tree, I found this adorable little birdhouse in the Crafter Square section, and we're going to transform it into a gingerbread masterpiece. I'm starting out with my apple barrel nutmeg brown paint, and I'm going to completely coat the whole exterior of this birdhouse with the paint. And while creating all of these fun gingerbread pieces, I have noticed that I do have to do multiple coats of this paint to get the color that I want. And once you're satisfied with your paint, I'm going to go ahead and grab a white painter's pen. And this one is from Apple Barrel, and I got that at Walmart, I think. But I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start drawing a cute little frosting edge on my little house. And then I continue drawing all over the outside perimeter of the house. For the roof and the base, we are going to be doing something different. So once you're satisfied with how your house is starting to look, we are going to go ahead and let this dry for a few minutes. And then I grabbed my puffy paint. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be adding that puffy paint to the whole entire roof of this house. And to do this, I kind of spread a little bit of the puffy paint out, and then I came in with a paintbrush so that way I could make little swirls in the puffy paint to make it look more like falling snow on an actual roof. And to give the look of the snow kind of falling off the roof a little bit, I did come back in with that puffy paint and I just spread it around with the brush until I was satisfied with how the roof was looking. And then after we do that, we're going to take that puffy paint and we're going to kind of do the same thing around the perimeter of the house to make it look like there's snow covered around the house. And then I do come in with that paintbrush just to give a little bit of a swirl and smooth out the puffy paint around the perimeter. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab some glitter, and this is just white glitter that I had gotten from the Dollar Tree a few years back. And I'm just going to take that glitter and I'm going to put a little bit of it in my hand, and I'm going to sprinkle that very lightly over the top of the house and around the base of the house. This is while that puffy paint is still wet. So this will give it a really nice, fun snow-like texture. Now pack your patience because that puffy paint is going to take overnight to dry. Now once that is completely dry, I am going to take this little wreath that I had from a previous craft, and I'm just going to be hot gluing that around the center of the hole for our little birdhouse. And now once our wreath is in place, I am going to take this adorable little red bird and I'm going to hot glue it right inside the wreath. And I did find these birds on Amazon based on a recommendation from Brenda from one of her videos. So thank you, Brenda, for recommending these cute little birds. And if you're interested in these birds, I will put a link for them down in my description box below. And now this adorable gingerbread birdhouse is complete. I just love how this turned out. This turned out way better than I thought it was going to, and I'm very happy with how this looks. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments below. And do you like the sparkles in the snow, or do you like it without sparkles? So I absolutely love these wood frames, and I get them from Walmart, and they're such a great blank to use for different crafts. So I'm going to start out by removing the back side of this frame here, and this is the insert inside of it, and I'm going to go ahead and take the outside of this frame and set that aside for a few minutes. We're going to start by taking that first insert of the frame, and I'm going to paint that with some chalkboard paint from Folk Art. And I am going to do 2 coats of the chalkboard paint just to make sure I have a nice thick coat on there. Now, while that is drying, I am going to go back to the frame that we set aside earlier, and I'm going to place this down onto a paintable surface. And using my nutmeg brown from Apple Barrel, I'm going to coat this frame a few times, probably 3 coats across the front and the back side of this frame. Now, going back to our frame insert, I have this silk screen that I found on Amazon last year, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet, so I'm really excited to use it. And this says Baking Through the Snow. And we're just going to place that right on the center of our piece. Next, I'm going to grab my chalk paste and vintage lace and my squeegee, and I'm going to go ahead and squeegee that chalk paste over the top of our silk screen. And if you haven't used a silk screen stencil before, these are great. They're self-adhesive, and then when you're done using them, you're able to wash them in warm soapy water and reuse them again over and over again. And once you are done adding that chalk paste, you just peel this little stencil right off, and it makes this most beautiful little piece. Now, while that dries, let's go back to our frame. Now that the frame has completely dried, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Apple Barrel white paint pen. Next, I'm going to just take that pen and start drawing some different designs to make it look very festive and fun for a gingerbread frame. Welcome to the Gingerbread vs. Snowman Challenge. We've got some amazing creators joining in the fun today. On Team Snowman, we have Kathy Jo DIYs, Craft Away with May, and Craft Classy, bringing all the frosty charm. And on Team Gingerbread, it's Rustic and Lace DIY, Crafting in Mimi's World, and me, Katie from Lady Red Crafting, baking up some sweet creations. To vote for your favorite team, head over to Rustic and Lace DIY's community page. And don't forget, the full playlist link is down in my description box below. And let's see who's going to take home the win. So now that we've added some gingerbread touches to our frame, let's go ahead and add back in our centerpiece to the frame. And once we have that secured into place, we'll go ahead and flip over our frame, and let's add some final touches. So I found these adorable little peppermint candies, and they're fake candies on Amazon. So I went ahead and I'm going to add a few of these to our frame. I'm going to hot glue them into each corner of the frame to give it a little extra sweetness. Next, I'm going to take this little wood spoon that I had gotten from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just going to hot glue that right to the corner of our frame for the final touch. And wow, I just love how this piece turns out. This is such a fun and easy piece that you can make for the Christmas season. And I feel like this is definitely something you could do for a Christmas crafting party, and everybody could decorate the frame however they like to take home. I'm going to start out with some air dry clay, and this clay I got on Amazon quite a while ago, so it is not as fresh as I would have liked, but it did work for this craft. I'm going to take this out and I'm going to roll it out about 1/4 of an inch thick. Then I'm going to take this metal cookie cutter and cut out some little gingerbread men. And once I have a few of these guys cut out, I'm going to lay them out on a little tray and let them dry. It did take me about 48 hours for these to dry completely. Now, once these little gingerbread men have dried, I am going to go ahead and grab my apple barrel nutmeg brown, and I'm going to paint these with a few coats of paint. Now, the first coat of paint is definitely very light and more like a primer on these. I ended up having to do like 4 coats to get the color that I wanted. So for this craft, I wanted to show you the differences in using different kinds of paint for gingerbread crafts. So the first little ornament we're going to make is using some puffy paint. And this is very simple. All we're doing here is adding that puffy paint to give our little gingerbread a face and add a little frosting decor. So for this next one, we're going to be using spackling and paint. This is a little bit more involved, but it looks really cool when you're done. You're going to be taking the spackling, and I just spooned a little bit of it into a bowl. Once you have a little bit in there, I'm going to add some paint. And so for this, since I want the spackle to be white, I'm going to be using some white acrylic paint from Apple Barrel. And then you're just going to mix that up. And then once you're satisfied with the color, I'm going to go ahead and pipe this onto our little gingerbread. Now for the eyes and the little buttons, I'm going to be using a number 2 from Wilton. And then for the decorative frosting on the arms and the legs, I am using a number 18. I feel like this look gives a more meringue or buttercream frosting look to your gingerbread cookie. Our third technique is stenciling. So I'm taking a stencil here, and this is one of the silkscreen stencils, and I'm just going to lay that over the top of my little gingerbread man. And then using some chalk paste, I'm just going to go ahead and squeegee that over the top. And then we'll remove the silk screen. And that is all there is to it. It's so simple to do. So now that all of our gingerbread men are dry, I'm going to flip them over. What I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be adding in a hanger so that we'll be able to make these into cute little ornaments. To do this, I'm using these bales, and I did get these on Amazon. I believe they're a jewelry making thing, but I have been using these for ornaments, and I really love how they look. So to attach, I'm going to be using some E6000, and then we'll just go ahead and set that bale right on top of each one of these gingerbread men. And once everything is dry, we'll go ahead and flip these over. And then we're going to add a little ribbon to make a hanger. And now our 3 little gingerbread men are ready to hang on your tree. I just love how these turned out. They have such a different look, but are all gingerbread. Which one's your favorite? Number 1, number 2, or number 3? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this content, please consider hitting that like or subscribe button below. Thank you! So for this craft, we're going to be taking some ornament pieces that I found at the Dollar Tree and some that I made with some air dry clay. One piece that I got from my dear friend Robin over at Crafts Unleashed that she got over at Dollar General. I don't have any Dollar Generals near me. She sent me some pieces for me to craft with. So thank you, Robin. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep some of these little ornaments. And since I'm not going to be using them as ornaments, I did come back in with some spackle. And on these snowflakes and on the Christmas trees, I went ahead and I just filled in the holes at the top so that we can cover that up. So once I had all of these wood ornaments prepped, I did come in with my apple barrel nutmeg brown, and I painted a coat of paint over the tops of all of these ornaments. Now, you don't need to paint both sides because we're only going to be using one side of this ornament, so that did make this go a little bit quicker, but I did do 3 or 4 coats per ornament. Now for the little wood house here, I did have to prep that front of that house a little bit by adding a little wet towel and removing some of that paper on the front, just so it was easier for me to go ahead and paint my coat of that nutmeg brown over the top of this house. And for my last 2 houses, these ones were plastic, and I thought that this might be better to do a spray paint on. So I did use my Rust-Oleum paint here, and I went ahead and took these outside and I spray painted them. And these little ornaments do pop out. I didn't show that on camera, but you can take the back off and then you can put that back on later. So now that we have all of our pieces prepped, I took my little puffy paint and we're going to decorate all of our pieces. So I started out decorating my 3 little gingerbread men, and now I'm going to decorate my 3 Christmas trees. Once we have our trees complete, we do our 3 little snowflakes. Then it's time to decorate our 3 little houses. And since each one of these houses are just a little bit different, each one of them got their own individual style. And I'm just using the puffy paint to do all of this. Then, once we get these adorable houses all complete, we're going to go ahead and set these all aside overnight to dry. So the next morning, I went ahead and I took one of these wreaths, and I got this at Walmart, and I think it was like $5. And I'm taking it outside, and I just kind of sprayed it down with a little bit of white spray paint to make it look like snow. Now let's go ahead and build our wreath. The first thing I'm going to do is take all of my gingerbread pieces and place them on top of the wreath until I am satisfied with the placement of all of them. Next, I went ahead and I added some of these fun red berries that I got at the Dollar Tree to the wreath to give it a little pop of color. Then I also added some of the little white berries just to give it more of a candy cane look. I thought I was going to add those little candies that I had from Amazon, but it just didn't feel right when I put them on the wreath, so we decided to not use them. Once I am satisfied, I'm going to come back in with some hot glue, and I'm going to hot glue all of our pieces into place. And once we have all of our pieces hot glued to our wreath, I'm going to go ahead and make a bow. The ribbon I'm going to be using for the bow, I did get at Hobby Lobby last year, and I really love the vintage vibe this has. So I'm just going to cut a strip of this ribbon, and then taking some hot glue, I'm going to make a loop. And what I did here is I made 3 loops, a smaller one, a medium size, and a larger loop. Once you have all of your loops, we are then going to cut a strip of the ribbon to make our tails. Now we're going to take all 4 of these pieces and make the base of our bow. What I found works well is I just stack these loops on top of my tails. So I just go ahead and I stack them a little bit off-centered on top of the tail. And then once I have them into place, I'm going to take a pipe cleaner and I'm going to put that around the center. And I'm just going to squish everything together. And then I'll twist that pipe cleaner around onto the back side of this ribbon. And then we flip the bow over, and holding it in the center, I just fluff everything out. Once I'm satisfied with the fluffing on the bow, I did cut another small piece of this ribbon, and then I'm folding it into thirds. Once I've done that, I'm going to put that around the center of the bow just to make it look nice and polished. We'll go ahead and hot glue it on the back side. And if your piece is a little bit too big, just go ahead and trim any of the excess ribbon off before you hot glue the last piece into place. Now, once your bow is secure in the center there, we're going to flip our bow over, and using some scissors, we're going to dovetail the ends of our bow. Now, if you don't want to dovetail them, an angle cut is also a nice way to finish the bow off. To attach our bow to our wreath, I did take a piece of the ribbon and I tied a nice loop around the wreath so that way I had a hanger. I then took the bow that I made, and using that pipe cleaner that I left on the back side of that bow, I'm going to twist that around the loop of the ribbon that is going to be the hanger for our wreath. Now, once we have our bow attached, our wreath is complete and ready to hang. I just love how this gingerbread wreath turns out. I think this is so adorable and such a fun piece to make. That was so much fun, friends. I hope you enjoyed our gingerbread versus snowman challenge as much as I did. Team Gingerbread all the way. Don't forget to head over to Rustic and Lace DIYs and cast your vote under the community post to let them know which team you're cheering for. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please remember, craft more, stress less.